We are in the midst of the story of this is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're on Isaac right now. However, there was a lead in to Isaac, right? We started out with the creation story, and then the brothers, their kids, and then there was murder, and there was deceit, and there was a whole bunch of things. And last week we talked about Abraham and Sarah, and we learned that Abraham and Sarah were actually half siblings, right? So there was some family drama that we talked about. And I have some notes here because this genealogy gets really twisted over time, and I thought I am never going to remember what I want to say about that. So I just want to lay the groundwork here. So Abraham and Sarah married, right? Abraham had a brother. Well, he had 3 brothers, but the one brother, his name was Nahor. Abraham and Sarah had Isaac, but they had Isaac later. They were gifted a child, a promise from God, but they took it into their own hands, and Sarah said, "You, Abraham, take my handmaiden, my handservant, and let's have a child through her." So they had Ishmael. A number of years later, they had Isaac. So Isaac and Ishmael are brothers. Now, Isaac marries Rebekah, and I misspoke last week and said it was somebody else. I said Jacob married, but that's not true. Isaac married Rebekah, and Rebekah is a cousin of Isaac's, one time removed, because Rebekah is the granddaughter of Abraham's brother Nahor. Okay. Her brother is Laban. Laban's two of his kids are Leah and Rachel. And Isaac and Rebekah have the 2 boys we heard in the scripture today. And Jacob is at some point, we're going to talk more about that here, is sent off to Laban, Rebekah's brother, to marry, and he marries Leah and Rachel, who are his cousins, right? And then he has 12 kids, at least 12. Well, he has 13 I know of, but he has 12 for sure. In the meantime, Esau goes off and marries Ishmael's daughter, so his first cousin, for a reason. So that is what I have in here, and it gets more complicated, but that's the short version for today. Abimelech does not actually have any relationship with Rebekah, but spies them outside his window one day and sees them doing things that married couples would do. And he confronts Isaac and says, "What have you done to me?" And then he gifts him a whole bunch of things, protects him in the town, and says nobody can touch Isaac. And Isaac becomes very wealthy. And at some point, King Abimelech says, "You've become too powerful and too big in our country. You need to get out." And so they go. There's this opportunity that comes right in the middle between these 2 things. So Isaac and Rebekah go back, and I don't know if Jacob and Esau were with them or not, because by the time we hear that Isaac gives the blessing to pseudo-Esau, Jacob, right? Esau is married twice to 2 Hittite women. He's already married. They're in their 40s, the 2 boys. They're like 40 years old. And then Isaac is ready because he's thinking, "I'm about to die," even though he's only 100. He lives to be about 180. He thinks he's nearing death. He wants to give the blessing to his eldest son. And what happens? Jacob tricks Isaac, and he's in league with his mother. His mother says, "I overheard your dad send Esau out into the field to go get food. He's getting ready to give the blessing. Now's our chance to put the nail on this thing you traded with your brother, because it's not official yet." So Rebekah tells Jacob who she loves. It says that in the Bible. Dad loves Esau, mom loves Jacob. Sends Jacob and says, well, don't go out and don't go hunting because, probably you can't do that anyway. Go into our stock, go to the food pantry and get a piece of meat, bring it upstairs, and I will cook it for you to give to your dad. And that's exactly what happens. He goes out, he takes something from the flock, they prepare it, she cooks it, he sneaks into Dad with lamb's wool on his arms and his neck and Esau's clothes and tricks Dad to give him Esau's blessing, thinking that he's speaking to Esau. And that's the moment when the blessing becomes final, because once those blessings were given, they're like trusts. They're irrevocable. You cannot go back and take them back. Esau comes in moments later and he begs his dad, Dad, please give me a blessing. He can't have the blessing that was given to his brother, but Isaac does bless him. He says, you're going to live by the sword, and yet someday the chains between you and your brother will be broken, and you will no longer serve your brother. Now, Esau is still mad. He wants to kill his brother. So if he kills his brother, well, then everything is his. Plus, he's probably a bit angry about the whole blessing thing, right? Rebekah overhears that Esau's mad and going to kill Jacob. So she says to Jacob, I'm going to tell your dad that I don't want you marrying the Hittite women that are around here like Esau did to make us mad. We're going to send you to Uncle Laban to find a wife. And in the meantime, Esau might cool off. So she sends Jacob to Uncle Laban. Esau figures this out, and he doesn't go on chase, but he goes to Ishmael, Uncle Ishmael, and he marries Ishmael's daughter, his own cousin, to try and prove something to his parents, that he's okay too. Always trying to live up, right? So Jacob goes. He goes to the well. He sees Rachel come out. He falls head over heels in love on sight. The messengers go back and tell Laban, and Uncle Laban comes out and says, well, you can come back with me. Come back to the house. Let's go. Let's figure out a bride price. And that's what it is. They sell the daughters. Laban sells his 2 daughters to Jacob for 7 years' service. But after 7 years, Jacob finds out that he indeed was tricked. The tricker gets tricked. He was tricked, and he did not consummate his marriage with Rachel. He wakes up and finds out it was her elder sister, Leah. So he's mad, and he goes to Uncle Laban, and Uncle Laban says, well, you can marry Rachel. It is our custom to marry off the older one first. And after you spend a week with Leah, you can marry Rachel, but you're going to owe me another bride price. 7 more years. And so Jacob is in love with Rachel, and he agrees. So he agrees to these extra 7 years. So at the end of 14 years, he's married to 2 of Laban's daughters. He's got 2 wives at least. And that may be all he has. Now I'm thinking about it. He is ready to leave. But the trickery is not over. Because Uncle Laban says to his nephew Jacob, well, while you've lived here, you became rich. You've enriched your flock. You've got my 2 daughters. You're going to be starting a family. I think you owe me something for that. And so there's a detailed story about spotted and striped lambs and goats, which we are not going to talk about today. But Jacob basically has to take another 6, 7, 8 years to figure out what he's allowed to take with him from Laban's house. It's about 20 years now, and Jacob's finally able to leave. He's got 2 wives, some kids. his goats, his sheep, his donkeys, they're all the stuff he has, and he's going to go back home now. But remember why he left. His brother is still back home. Probably still angry. Maybe 20 years didn't do it. So Jacob starts back home. He decides what he's going to do to protect himself, just in case something goes crooked. I'm going to split everything. And I'm going to send into hiding half of my people, half of my goods, half of my servants, half of my family. They're going to go in hiding. I'm only going to take half. So he trots off with half. And he decides also he's going to give a gift to Esau. So he picks out some prize stock from his flocks and so forth, and he sends servants ahead. Well, while the gift is on its way, somewhere in the middle of the story, Jacob encounters God. This is right where Jacob wrestles with God. Jacob wrestles with God. He's by himself because he's hidden everybody, sent some gift ahead. He's by himself and he meets God and wrestles with God. And at the end of that, he has a busted hip, left hip maybe, busted left hip. And he's been named Israel. Now here's one of the surprising things. He's also named Israel later. Why that has to happen twice, I don't know. But it's an aha moment. He wakes up. He sees Esau coming. He's split the family already. He decides to split the family again. His fear is building. He splits the family again. He meets up with Esau. Does anyone remember what the prodigal son, the father of the prodigal son, did when he saw his son over the hill? He ran. Esau runs to meet Jacob and falls on his neck and embraces him. He's missed him for 20 years. And Jacob on his way is bowing. It says he bowed down 7 times to his brother. They were reconciled. And they end up going together for a short distance. Esau wants to live with Jacob, and Jacob says, well, you go ahead and I'll come later. And he doesn't. They go 2 separate ways and they live their lives. When Isaac dies, they come back together to bury their dad. And then they go their separate ways. One of the things that I got from all of that was that God, first of all, God works through difficult family situations, right? Because out of the house of Jacob is going to come the line of David. And think about all the things we've talked about already. God can do that in difficult circumstances. And God can use broken people. And the final thing is reconciliation does not forecast the relationship will return to the same. They're not going to go back to being 2 young boys playing in the field. But they are reconciled together in love. And they go on and live their own lives. Reconciled and still separate. So as we go out from today, if we think about our own situations with our family and our friends and the situations in the world today, is that oftentimes we don't see it because it's hard to take. That God is still at work in difficult situations, broken people, and even with reconciliation, it may not ever go back to the way that it was. And we thank God for God's wisdom in all of that. Amen.